Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at this week's official prices. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so we got all the old world stuff coming out, and we have got a ton of prices. So we're going to go ahead and just rip straight through them. And I think we'll find that there is basically a lot of similarities with the Horus Heresy pricing. There's definitely some decent deals, or some good deals, I should say. And then there's also some stuff that is like insanely overpriced, in my opinion. Now, that being said, some of these kits haven't been available in 20 years, so the aftermarket prices were pretty insane on them. So compared to that, they're good prices, but you'll have to give me your honest opinions. So just getting started here with the big box set. So first we have the Old World Core Set, Kingdom of Bretonnia Edition, and that is $255 for the Kingdoms of Bretonnia Edition. Then next we have the Warhammer Old World Core Set, Tomb Kings of Khemri Edition, and this one is $290. So pretty big difference between them, but this one does have that pretty large centerpiece, but $290 for the Tomb Kings of Khemri. All right, and then for the Warhammer Old World Rulebook, it is $70 USD. Then we have the Forces of Fantasy and the Ravening Hordes, and those are $50 each, $50 for each one of those. All right, and then we have the Arcane Journal, Kingdom of Bretonnia, $27 for the Arcane Journal. All right, and then we have the Battle Standard Bearer on Royal Pegasus, $70 for this guy. And we don't know for sure, but because this is the same Pegasus and it just has like a different rider, I'm assuming that's what the other Pegasus will be once it's available individually. But for now, it's only in the big box set. All right, and then now we're getting into the reprints. So we have the Pegasus Knights, $60 for those. So it's basically Games Workshop's like current prices, which is interesting because this is like a 20-year-old plastic kit. All right, and then we have the Grail Knights and Grail Knight Command. So two separate kits. Both are metal and both are $60 a piece. So again, $60 a set for old models. All right, and then we have the Battle Pilgrims. The Battle Pilgrims are $80 for a metal box. And then the Grail Reliquary is $65. All right, and then we have the Mounted Yeoman Command for $60. And then the Mounted Yeoman for $75. All right, and then the Handmaiden of the Lady. This is in resin now, $36 for her. All right, and then the Battle Standard on foot and Battle Standard mounted, and these come together in a resin box, and it's $83 for the two of them. So like, I don't want to be overly negative on some of this stuff, and I know some of this has been hard to find for a long time, so these prices probably aren't that bad relative to like the third-party market trying to like hunt down some of this stuff. But for me, these prices just seem insane. This definitely feels like Games Workshop is whale hunting. All right, and then we had the Paladin with Great Weapon, $36, and he's in resin. All right, and then we have the reference cards for $27, and I don't actually see the dice on here. Doesn't mean they're not coming out, I just don't see them on the price list. All right, and then jumping over to the Tomb King stuff, so we have the Arcane Journal, Tomb Kings of Khemri, so $27 for this. All right, and then we have the Tomb Guard, so there's 20 of the Tomb Guard in the box, and they are plastic. And this is $80 for the Tomb Guard. And this just really reminds me of like the Horus Heresy pricing. So you get a lot more models in the box set and it's slightly cheaper. Like maybe you would buy like a normal box for like 50 or $60 and get 10. So here you get 20 models, but it costs $80. And that's like real similar to like what they did for Horus Heresy. So the stuff is like cheaper per model, but the actual like box cost is more expensive. And it just seems weird to me because like, at least with the Horus Heresy stuff, it was like all brand new models. You know, this stuff is like reprints of like 20-plus-year-old models. It just seems really expensive. All right, and then we see the Sepulchral Stalkers and the Necropolis Knights. So this is the same kit. It can build either one. $60 for these, and they are again in plastic. All right, and then also in plastic, we have the Necro Sphinx, $75 for the Necro Sphinx. And this is actually a pretty cool model. And it has aged fairly well. I've seen a lot of like really cool conversions with this, so I could see this being popular. And then here's that optional assembly for the War Sphinx. So obviously if you build it this way, you don't get the character on foot. But if you build it the other way, you have the separate Tomb King on foot. All right, and then moving over to metal now, we have Settra the Imperishable, $60 USD for Settra. All right, and then also in metal, we have the Lich Priest. So this model is $15. I can't help but think that it's $15 because it's so dated looking. All right, and then we have the Ushabti, and these are $85 a set, and these are metal, and you have like the two different options. All right, and then moving over to Forge World Resin, we have the Tomb King himself on foot, $36 for the Tomb King. Pretty nice model right here, actually. And then still in resin, we have the Battle Standard Bearer, $36 for him. And then also in resin, we have the Tomb Swarms. Those are $56. And then again, the reference cards for the Tomb Kings, $27. And again, I don't see the dice on here. All right, and then for the Lore Magic cards, $38. For the common Magic cards, also $38. And then for the card sleeves, $18. All right, and then we've got our bases. So there's a bunch of different bases on here, so we're just going to go through all of them. So we have the 30 by 30 millimeter bases. 100 pack of those is $50. Then we have the 30 by 60 millimeter bases. 20 pack of those is $18. Then we have 25 by 25 bases. 100 pack is $50. 25 by 50 millimeter bases. 20 pack is $18. And then we have the 40 by 40 millimeter 5 pack for $6.50. Then we have the 50 by 50 millimeter 5 pack is $6.50. Then we have the 50 by 100, and those are in a 3 pack for $6.50. And then we have the 50 by 75, also in a 3 pack for $6.50. And then we have the 60 by 100 in a 3 pack for $6.50. Then the 60 by 40 millimeter 3 pack, and that is also $6.50. And then we have the 100 millimeter by 150 millimeter, and that is a single base for $8.50. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch, and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video. All right, and then we have the Old World modular movement trays, and it is $40 for the movement tray set. And then we have the Old World map is $32. All right, and then the Lords of the Lance hardback novel is $35. And then the Lords of the Lance special edition is $75. And then we have the End Times Fall of Empires paperback for $21. And we have Goderic Gurnison Blightslayer paperback for $17.99. And White Dwarf $4.96, $11. Okay, and then for whatever reason, I didn't see it, but the Kingdom of Bretonnia transfer sheet is $35. And then none of the dice are actually listed on here, so they may be delayed. Typically when they're not on the price list, it means they were delayed for some reason. But I think we got everything on there. So overall, my takeaway is that, like, compared to some of the prices to get some of this stuff that's 20 years old and super rare, you know, some of these kits were like selling for $200 and $300. So in comparison to that, they're really good deals. But then when you look at it compared to like the current range, you're basically paying for like 20 to 30-year-old models, like full Games Workshop current prices, which is really crazy. I think both the box sets seem like pretty good deals at $255 and $290. I think you're getting quite a bit in these box sets, especially when you consider that the big book is like $70 on its own. So if you take that away, you're basically paying like $185 for this if you were going to buy the book anyway for $70. And for the Tomb Kings, again, if you're going to buy the book for $70, you're paying $220 for all the rest of this. And we don't know what the actual dragon's going to be on its own. But Games Workshop did say about the mounted Pegasus that it's like the same actual Pegasus and just different rider options. So it's going to be two separate kits. But the Pegasus with the Royal Standard is $60. So we can assume this guy is roughly going to be $60, maybe a little bit more. But that doesn't really give us much idea as to like how much the dragon's going to be on his own. But I would assume probably whatever the difference is. So maybe closer to like 100 for the dragon when it does come out on its own. So you get a lot of models. It's definitely a higher price point. Very similar to what we saw with Horus Heresy, but the big difference is the Horus Heresy stuff is pricey. You get a lot more models than you would with like normal 40K in the sets, and the kits are a little more expensive, but everything is brand new. With this stuff, everything is really old, and like some of the stuff actually holds up pretty good. A couple of the sculpts we saw were like pretty nice, but a lot of the basic like infantry models and stuff like that are just really, really dated. So I can't help but think that this stuff is way overpriced. Now, again, if you were like currently trying to collect all this stuff prior to it coming out, you were going to pay an arm and a leg, but you would expect that for anything that hasn't been in print for like 20 plus years. So I think the main two takeaways for this are the big box sets, from what I've heard, are not going to be limited edition. I believe Games Workshop has officially confirmed that, so you should be able to pick them up at any point in time, and I would imagine later there'll be some other big box sets like this as well. And it looks like, but I can't confirm for sure, any of the like plastic stuff is going to be available from like your local game store, and you'll be able to get your normal discount on it. But any of the metal and resin kits are probably going to be like the equivalents of direct order only, which means you're not going to get the same discounts. So obviously, like anything that was like Forge World resin or coming in the metal kits, expect to pay like full price or close to full price on those. So again, you know, when you take away like the standard discount of like 15% in the United States or like 20% in the UK / like Europe, you start looking at these kits that are like 20, 30 years old for like $60 and $80 with no discount. And again, it feels really expensive to me. But I think we all knew that this was kind of going to be Games Workshop coming out trying to harpoon a couple whales. And I think they're going to succeed. So we'll have to see how popular this is. We'll see if it like goes mainstream and people are actually playing it, or if it's more just like people picking it up and kind of throwing it on the shelves, or if it's more like collectors actually painting it. I'm not sure this is going to be like some big revival of the actual game and it's going to take over. If anything, this might take away from like some of the Sigmar players, but I don't know. It really feels to me like this is a completely different like niche, very small group of people. Feels like it's going to be like a real big launch and like a lot of excitement behind it. And then I think it's going to fade. Not for everybody. I think there's going to be some diehards out there that are really excited about this, that are playing this, painting it, collecting it. And like the excitement for those people, that very small group of OGs, is probably going to stay super hyped for a super long time. But I think for a lot of other people, they're going to get excited and then it's going to fade. There's not going to be people like playing this on the regular. So you got to really pay attention to like what your gaming group is going to do, what your friends are going to do before you decide if you really want to jump in on this stuff, because it is definitely on the pricey side. So for me, it's going to be a big pass, not just because of the prices, not just because it's not going to be like that popular, but I'm just already way too involved in all of Games Workshop's other stuff. I passed on the Horus Heresy stuff and did not regret it. And I feel like for me, this is going to be the same type of situation. I played Fantasy back in the day. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was fun at the time, but there's a reason it died off, in my opinion. So you guys let me know down below what you think of the prices, what you think of the excitement, the hype, if you're going to be playing this game. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. As always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. And I'm going to be dodging these harpoons. And I'm out of here.